Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Autism Stories. I'm your host, Doug Bletcher, the founder of Autism Personal Coach. Autistic people are the true experts of the autistic experience, and Autism Stories is where we interview autistic people to learn from their stories, experiences, and get their insights. If you would like to be notified about each week's episode of Autism Stories, we suggest you subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. We would also appreciate it if you could give us a positive rating and review, as it will help others to learn about autism stories. On today's episode, Terrill North joins me to discuss fatherhood, employment, and visionary entrepreneurs. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Terrill, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
No, thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I wanted to start off by learning a little bit about where does your story in the autistic community begin?
Sure. I mean, I guess in a certain way, it's lifelong, right? But my first understanding of any of it began in law school. I really tanked an exam, and my professor, who was bipolar, asked me to go get tested because when he found out that I got the scores that I got, he was just, "But you participated, you did all this other stuff. Wait a minute, let's find out. I think something else might be going on." And he was concerned that I might be dyslexic. So I went through the initial set of tests and everything around that, and I was diagnosed with ADD. But the psychologist told me that she thought I may be autistic. And to be honest with you, I was so drained from that process, I stepped away from all of it until really just a couple of years ago. So I'd always had this inkling that that may be a part of what's going on with who I am, but I didn't know officially until I got tested again around 40.
So, what was your reaction to your professor when he suggested you get tested? Because I've talked with other people that have went through law school here on Autism Stories and kind of heard of how some of those law school was probably challenging for us as autistics.
Honestly, at first I was more concerned about the risk of having another label applied to me because I really didn't want to. At that time, I was thinking about it more in terms of every single thing as a strike against you, as opposed to being something that made you stronger, which is really how I think about it now. So in those days, I would have told you that being black was a strike against me, ADHD was a strike against me, and I didn't want another one. So I was really hesitant to go through with even the testing. It took me about a year before I got tested. But the thing that made me do it was I recognized that that professor cared about me. And he'd gone through a similar life experience. He'd had trouble getting jobs his entire career until he got into academia because of his bipolar situation. I realized that he cared enough about me that he's not trying to hurt me and he knows something about this. So let me go figure it out. Let me go find out what's really going on.
Now, present day, you're a partner at New Profit, whose mission is to help visionary social entrepreneurs bring about widespread transformative impact. What do you think qualifies someone to be a visionary social entrepreneur?
That's a good question because at the end of the day, really, if you believe you are one, you probably are, right? What we look at in terms of our grant making, it's usually along the lines of, are you trying to help people get through a situation they're in right now? Or are you going beyond that to address the system that's causing that situation? So for New Profit, a visionary social entrepreneur is someone who would take it beyond helping you deal with an immediate problem and start thinking through how do you fix the system that causes that problem?
And from what I understand, New Profit is excited to deepen the support of Black led organizations as part of their strategy to invest in visionary leaders building new systems of opportunities in America. What type of systems from these leaders is New Profit investing in now or hopefully in the future?
Well, so traditionally we invest in education, workforce development, and democracy. I focus on workforce development, what we call it economic mobility now. where we're just trying to help people get better jobs, get better employment, really lean into how to be successful after they get out of school. So it's a variety of systems. Some of it is the systems you feel trapped in, right? It's the school system, it's the child welfare system for foster kids. But other pieces of it are, well, how do you get a good job? What are the skills you need to get a good job? And how can we think about it instead of just training you for a job as a welder or as a computer programmer? How do we address the larger society so that for a lot of people, for example, they have issues getting a job because of a criminal record? So how do we set it up so that the criminal record you may have had doesn't stop you from getting a job, or didn't receive the complete education they could have gotten in their K-12 education, so they have to supplement it? Well, how do we fix the system so that no one graduates high school without being able to do ninth grade level math or 10th grade level math, like that kind of thinking?
I'm just curious, and you may or may not be able to answer this question, but for people with marginalized backgrounds, people that are autistic, people of color,
Mm-hmm.
there's a large number of those people that end up having criminal records.
Yes.
So have you come across any entrepreneurs that are, kind of are trying to come up with creative ways to help people in those situations?
Definitely. I mean, they are there right now. Like in my last role, I ran a foundation in Baltimore where we were able to work more directly with folks in the city of Baltimore trying to work on those issues. Where I am now, getting there, right? I mean, just the economic mobility piece of it is relatively new to the firm. So that's where I'm starting. And as we are as an organization, because it can't just be, oh, Terrill knows about this thing. It has to be, we all know about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're getting more into finding organizations that are dealing directly with people whose challenges are related to being on the spectrum. It's kind of baked in. The founder of the organization had a learning disability. It was part of how she was able to kind of index on marginalized populations, even though she, was a white person, she didn't come from what she thought was marginalization. And she learned that she was through these other avenues and areas of her life, and has been ever since then bringing together people who come from different forms of sort of the extremes of society and helping them help other folks move from the margins to the mainstream.
Now, away from your work, away from New Profit, I read that your greatest joy and frustration are all wrapped up into one, and that's teaching your 6-year-old to play chess. I think at 6, I was playing Candyland, Shoots and Ladders, other
Right.
things that
Right.
maybe didn't use a lot of brain power. So, nothing on that intellectual level of chess. So, I probably would have loved to learn chess as a child. So, what made you want to specifically teach that game to your 6-year-old?
Oh, wow. Honestly, it's because that's when I learned it from my father. um, he loved chess. All of my brothers and I played chess, and we're a pretty diverse group. I mean, me, an accountant, to a garbage man, to a janitor, to unemployed. Like we run the gamut, and we all love playing chess because our father loved it.
Now, I'm wondering in terms of being a parent, has your autism helped you in any way in that aspect of your life?
Honestly, I probably say it's the other way around. Becoming a parent helped me deal with autism a lot better because that became what I indexed on. Like, how do I provide for my child as opposed to worrying about myself? And when I became a parent pretty late. I became a father till I was 40. And that's what made me want to really focus on how do I make sure she has this life that is beyond what I was able to have. And how do I help other people get to that same kind of life that was beyond what I was able to experience? And just how do we improve everything?
Did having a child did you want to focus more on what your autism meant to you more in your life?
Yeah, no, honestly, it made me think more about just everything in my life and what do I need to be strongest for her, right? So it made me, and it became, I guess in a sense, it became kind of like my special interest. Like, how do I make sure I'm doing all of the things? Like, I really did. begin to obsess about, like, how do I do all the things that are good for her, including the things that I'm scared of. I was terrified of being autistic specifically. And that fear had to go away when I realized, oh, wait a minute, I need to be this person, you know? So everything that I thought that I was terrified of, I just, no, no. What do I need to do? What do I need to know? Because, you may know this as part of your own experience from the autistic people that I've known, like a lot of people, including myself, get good jobs, but you have trouble keeping those jobs. And lots of times, I mean, you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. And I specifically needed a reason to keep trying. I was ready to quit and give up on all of it. And it was needing to provide a life for her that made me say, no, keep trying. Okay, go get, are there other tools out there? Somebody has to have these other tools. Go get them. And that's what made me say, and it's when I really began to understand autism was a strength, because it was literally that ability to kind of just hyper focus on something and have it be something that was actually useful for me, as opposed to when I was a kid, it was stuff that, like, comic books, right? It was every detail about the Incredible Hulk, but not tell you how to pass math. But it got to a point where it clicked, and it was just like, here's what you need to do. Here's how you make it happen. Here's how you, for example, tell people that you have a sensitivity to light or a sensitivity to sound, so that they're aware of it and they don't just think you're crazy, right? Tell people who you really are. Like, trust other human beings enough with your reality to know that they're going to care about your reality. Just all the other people who have autistic children, other people who are dealing with being on the spectrum themselves. I didn't know any of that until I embraced it and said, I need to know this to get it right. So that changed everything for me.
And are you still a fan of the Incredible Hulk these days?
Actually, I am. Mark Ruffalo was a much better Hulk than Edward Norton. But more importantly, I think I enjoy all of laughing with him.
I was curious. People have definite opinions on on
Yes.
who plays the superhero better.
Right,
Mark
right.
Ruffalo is a great actor, and
Yes, he's probably the better actor to do it, right? As opposed to just getting the job. Wasn't the biggest name.
yeah. And lastly, how can our listeners learn more about you beyond this interview?
Oh, well, I'm on LinkedIn. So Terrill North, Terrill North on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to find me. I'm always poking around online.
Well, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciated the conversation.
No, thank you again. I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about me. Hopefully, it can help someone.
Thanks so much to Terrill for the conversation. To learn more about Terrill, please check out the link in the podcast description of this episode. Here at Autism Personal Coach, our clients are the experts, our coaches are the guides. The majority of supports for autistics are not helpful. They try to fix us, not support us. That's why many are confused when we say our clients are the experts of their lived experience. Our clients are the experts for what's worked for them and about the things they need and want in their lives. Our coaches first listen to our clients, then ask thoughtful questions, offer resources, and strategize with our clients so they can get what they need to thrive. Would you want a guide in your life to coach you to get the things you desire? If so, then visit autismpersonalcoach.com for more information. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Autism Stories. And if you did, if you could tell a friend, foe, or anyone you know about it so they could have the same enjoyable and educational experience as you when listening to Autism Stories, it would be very much appreciated. Until next time, I'm Doug Bletcher of Autism Personal Coach. Talk to you then.